I really believed that if I continued and I didn't get injured, because I got injured, I'd be on there without a doubt. The people who I was competing against now are like pros and competing like on the Olympia.
For big tournaments, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at them now, I'm like, wow, I could have been there. But it is what it is. That wasn't my path. And when I got injured, it was like a 5-year stint of just battling some serious like identity issues, going from just training your ass off for a few years and then getting injured. That goal disappeared, and I thought pretty hard about that for a long time, but it definitely made me stronger, and I wouldn't change a thing now. But that's why when people do talk about injuries, I have a lot to offer them in terms of clients. I can relate a lot, but if you do stick to it and you do recovery, ice baths are good, and deep tissues, also doing different type of exercises, essential in your recovery. So I learned about my body a lot. Like I really went into just discovering what worked and what didn't work in terms of getting back to 100%. I'd say I'm pretty much 100% now, but my goals have changed. I'm not interested really in becoming the best possible bodybuilder. I would say potentially I would maybe compete one day in bodybuilding again. But when I was injured, I couldn't really lift heavy upper body. So I went into more like running, more conditioning work, and then the CrossFit, the Olympic lifting and stuff like that I've just started now. So it's putting that focus, continuing to try and, let's just say, have some sort of release.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up going a little bit crazy, going off the rails, as I did many times before. Because if your life is solely training in the gym, it's difficult to not self-destruct, I would say.
Interesting. I can see how that would have shaped you a lot in terms of that environment, because I can even picture a gym like that in kind of like, I would have went to a gym near Manchester with one of my cousins out in Denton in East Manchester, and very much that old school like Dorian Yates kind of style gym where even you're looking at the machines and it's like some guys just welded this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like very in like British bodybuilding gyms, old school styles, the machines are unique, the setup's unique, the guys are hardcore. You can see that probably suited you a lot. Maybe cultivate that mindset a bit more.
It was perfect, mate. It was like when I see people train now, I'm just like, that's not. It's more about the drugs now rather than the hardcore training. It's more about what are people taking to get that advantage rather than hard training in the gym, just becoming an absolute savage.
I get you. And with that, so kind of seeing within the mindset there that you like to go really, really hard at whatever it is that you're doing. You go all out with your training, with your business, which we'll talk about, and how successful Physique Academy is. But with talking about that in terms of having that all-in mindset and how that could potentially, if that's not put into the right pursuit, and also you don't have the right things to do surrounding that, where you have a bit more variety in your life. I mean, could you talk a bit more to that in terms of like, let's say people going off the rails? Is that something you've seen a lot with people who have competed? Have you seen it with yourself? And kind of what would you do for someone like that who might be prone to going off the rails, so to speak? Yeah. What's kind of helpful for someone like that with that mindset?
It's a big thing. If you look into it with athletes, professional athletes, they really struggle to come away from training and competing if they've got injured. It's quite a big thing. It's a big deal for people to deal with that. You hear a lot of people who are suicidal, depressed, go into drugs, alcohol. And I did go into drugs and alcohol when I got injured because I just had this energy and this drive and this ambition to become a bodybuilder. And don't get me wrong, it's not the worst thing to go through. It's definitely not. I don't want to come across as a victim. I never would be. I really do hate people who are victims and who talk like that. But it's probably because maybe I was a victim at one point. I felt really sorry for myself and I thought my life was over. And I just turned to drugs, alcohol, self-loathing, feeling like I was a loser. I was a has-been. People looked at me different I was once this guy who everyone thought was going to be like this like athlete or this fitness guy. And yeah, I am now, but I lost everything. Do you know what I mean? So I lost all the muscle, lost all the drive, and I lost the confidence as well.
Interesting. I mean, was part of this, were you already posting on social media at this point? There was somewhat of, there was a following there.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, was that sort of, you had this identity built up, let's say, people looking at you primarily in your locality, but then also on Instagram, more people see you. And I'm sure as well, a number of years ago, if you're talking about that, let's say 18, 19, 20, that sort of time, huge organic reach, I would have said. I'd say you would have been very kind of, known in the UK and that sort of scene. So was it that you had this identity built up and then you're like, well, fuck, am I this guy? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's like when you're at the top, everything's good, but when maybe when you're not winning, let's say you're not winning at something, people change. People change the way they look at you, the way they speak about you. And that was a blessing in disguise because I can really relate with people, and people are fucking hard on others, man. People can say some horrible shit, and you've got to be really careful what you let in. And